Your vision can be improved by playing with the series of processes that take place in your mind, also by having mental relaxation, letting go of mental stresses. This is actually what Dr. William Bates recommended, being more present, more relaxed, keeping a better awareness. And there are also several ways to train your eyesight and vision. You can improve them by working from the mental level in several ways. For example, by paying attention to the way in which you express yourself, watching your language. Because your awareness is like Google or any search engine, and what you ask it to look for is what it will find. So it is better for you to ask it to look for positive things rather than negative things. So if you take care of the way you speak, you can speak in a way that will program your mind to see better. That is one very real possibility. Another possibility would be working with the acquired models of perception, optimizing the models that allow you to see more clearly. In other words, this would mean working with the models from the Gestalt psychology. And actually, there are also several different ways in which you can train your mind to see better. We want to create different neural pathways of perception. And for this, it is very important and very useful to diversify the conditions in which we use our eyes. For example, we can look at night without help from any artificial lights. When we do this, we allow the eye rods to work, which are more active when there is little light. For example, you can also use books with optical effects that make you look in different ways than usual, doing exercises of fusion in convergence or fusion in divergence. This is Ray Gottlieb's specialty. But within the books of optical illusions, they also give you all the instructions on how you need to do it. And without having to go into complicated theories, you can play with that and you can see how it helps you to improve your eyesight. You can use eye patches, you can play with the mirror, you can play by standing upside down or with more light or less light. Every time that you are creating different conditions to see and varying the stimuli, actually the organs of perception register when there are any variations in the stimuli. And when you change the conditions in which you are looking most of the time, this makes the brain do a lot of gymnastics. It encourages it to seek to optimize in different ways the information that it has obtained. And besides, all these exercises are also good for other health issues because they are like gymnastics for the brain and have been proven to be effective prevention techniques for mental degenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's disease and many others. If we talk a little bit about some aspects of the different stages that are involved when we see something well, we can indeed talk about light impulses that we see from objects that are situated at different distances. And as I have told you earlier, those light impulses that help you to see in focus need to fall on the retina, but that is only a part of the matter. Then, with the images or the light stimuli that appear on the retina, the brain does some Photoshop editing. To begin with, the brain erases at least 20% of the light impulses that our eyes capture. If they do not correspond to an acquired model of something that we supposedly should be seeing, because the mind plays a very important role. Number one. Number two, the brain needs to turn the image upside down because in the eye, which is a synopic camera, like in a still camera or a video camera, the print, so to speak, appears upside down. And then the brain triangulates with the other senses and realizes that if my legs are downwards, I should not see them upwards. So it needs to turn the image around. Experiments have been done with glasses that have the ability to invert the image. And what happened to these people? They put on the glasses, and for 2 or 3 days they were very clumsy because they would see upside down. And 2 or 3 days later, the brain would flip the image again, so it would correspond to the information provided by the sense of touch. And then these people could see well again. At that point, they took off those glasses, and since there was that program running in the brain, people would see upside down for 2 or 3 days until the brain again completed the operation to make vision correspond with the sense of touch. That is to say that the brain makes many operations with the light impulses or with what we see, and that is something that can be optimized. On the other hand, the optic nerve, apart from being connected to the visual cortex, which is where the images we see are managed and processed, is also connected to the brain. So what we see is the result of many different factors. It is the result of whether we feel in danger or whether we are relaxed and feel confident. Fear and confidence have a very significant impact on eyesight. It also depends on what kinds of emotions we are feeling at the present time. It also depends on what priorities the organism has at this moment, what it is searching for, its current needs. It depends on acquired patterns. It depends on a number of principles that Gestalt psychology calls the theory of forms. According to it, there are some shapes that are easier to perceive than others, and especially those shapes that are familiar to us, with which we have positive emotional associations. So there are a multitude of things that our brain manages and processes that influence eyesight, and all this is something that we can optimize and improve. Also, the eyes are, of course, part of the body, and if there is tension in the eye muscles, there is tension also in the head, in the neck, in the shoulders, and in the spine. It is essential to know that the eyes are the first of the organs that will tense up when an emotional impact is felt, and they are also the last organs to relax. That is why the refractive errors that are due to muscle tensions or stresses have a tendency to be persistent if we do not do something specific to solve this issue. So we should learn specific relaxation techniques for the eyes in order to be able to release muscle tensions. And those specific techniques need to be applied after we have achieved a significant degree of general body and mind relaxation. And as I said, in the end, what you see is actually the product of what your brain is interpreting. Eyesight is not a consistent process. That is, even for people who see very well, as is my case and has been for many years, there are times when we see better and other times when we see worse. So in this sense, our eyes are like a kind of GPS that guides us throughout life. And I would recommend to you and to all the people who are interested in this process of improving their eyesight to observe every day, for example, in which moment of the day you have seen better and in which moment of the day you have seen worse. And with respect to those two moments, when you were seeing better, where were you? What were you doing? Who were you with? What were you thinking about? And what emotions were you feeling? If you see better in those places, in the company of those people, participating in those activities, thinking those thoughts, and feeling those emotions, then that is what you should nurture. That is what you have to insist on in life, to see better and better and better. If, on the other hand, you also take the time to analyze the times when you see worse in the day, and then see at that time where you are, what you are doing, in whose company you are, what you are thinking, and what emotions you feel. And there the idea is that as much as possible, considering your life circumstances, to eliminate more and more those elements from your life, that you spend less time in those places, in those people's company, doing those things, thinking those thoughts, and feeling those emotions. It is about cultivating and enlarging in your life everything that makes you see better, and reducing or eliminating, if you can, everything that makes you see poorly. If you see surprising things at certain times, well, there are some people, considering that the eyes are connected to different parts of the brain, we all have a brain hemisphere that is more rational and a brain hemisphere that is more intuitive. The intuitive hemisphere of the brain communicates with us through symbols, through images, through the imagination, and there are people who receive information that carries a visual component that is independent of any external physical stimuli. So those people who frequently receive and see that kind of intuitive internal communication, sometimes in some cultures they are considered clairvoyant because they can see beyond the physical reality. Somehow it is a message from the brain, from that more intuitive, more imaginative part of the brain,